6th in order to fight for this injustice and get the rights for Dalit Christians in India. And the AICF have been doing various works in order to win these rights. And one of those works is fighting in the Supreme Court of India. AICF have filed a case in the year 2009, and we've been fighting in the Supreme Court since then. And we are hoping that maybe this year we might be able to advance in the case in the Supreme Court, and by God's grace, maybe win that case so that the millions of Dalit Christians can be given equal rights as other fellow Dalits, right, in this country. And so tonight, we have fighting in the Supreme Court of India. Who will be AICF have filed a case in the roadmap year 2009, and what are some of the fighting Dalit Christians should do in order to win in this fight. So we are very much eager to hear from him in a few minutes. And we have the program scheduled. Now I'm going to give it to Dr. Reverend Kadari Ji to welcome our guests, and we will go from there. And those who are not speaking, I request you to unmute your microphones. Those who are not speaking, please mute your microphones. And now I request Reverend David Kadari to welcome our guests this evening.
Good evening, Dr. Kanchi Ailaya garu. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, good evening.
So, hello.
Yeah, good evening.
And other participants in this All India Christian Federation Global Network, and I appreciate your participation, sir. This is All India Christian Federation working among Dalits and Dalit Christians since 1996, and it is fighting for reservation for Dalit Christians who have been separated from original reservation system. So I request you all kindly share your what do you call your opinion about Dalit Christian reservation. Before that, I request Professor Kanchi Ailaya garu, who is known for his work for Dalits in India and other backward classes. He is international cadre personality, and I really thank him for coming to this Zoom meeting, and we have some kind of acquaintance with Professor Ailaya garu, and I request the participants, after Professor Ailaya garu giving his keynote address, I also request some proceedings are there in this meeting. Before we start, we are also we have some prayer meeting and some songs are there. After that, I request participants to kindly bear with us and share your opinion. Thank you. Now I call upon Bishop John Samuel garu to kindly pray for this meeting.
Okay, let's pray. Gracious Heavenly Father, thank you for this privilege to give us on behalf of All India Christian Federation, Lord. As our dignitaries are participating in this program, bless us right from our national president to the chief guest today, Professor Kanchi Ailaya garu, and other participants, Lord. Bless this program. Be with us and guide us, lead us. In Jesus' precious name I pray.
I want to thank Reverend David Kadariji and also Bishop Samuel. And we have two more people to pray for this program, for the success of this program, and also for our cause. Now I'm going to request Reverend Bishop Samuel John from Secunderabad to say a word of prayer quickly. And after that, following, we also request Reverend Solu Sudarshan, Senior Presbyter in Church of South India, Bongiri, to lead us in prayer after that. Is Bishop Samuel John there? Reverend Solu Sudarshan, are you online?
Okay. Let's pray. పరిశుద్ధమైన మా గొప్ప తండ్రి, సర్వశక్తిమంతుడా, సర్వోపకారి, సర్వదయా నీతిపరుడా, మీ అతి ఉన్నత శ్రేష్ఠ ఘనమైన నామమునకు స్తుతులు స్తోత్రములు చెల్లిస్తున్నాము దేవా. ఈ ప్రశస్తమైన సమయము మాకు ఇచ్చినందుకు మీకు వెళ్ళలేని వందనములు చెల్లిస్తున్నాము. ఆల్ ఇండియా క్రిస్టియన్ ఫెడరేషన్ బట్టి, ఈ ఆర్గనైజేషన్ బట్టి మీకు వందనములు చెల్లిస్తున్నాము. మా పరమదేవ గడ్డపాటి విజయరాజు గారు, మా ప్రభువ, వారికి మీరు ఇచ్చినటువంటి నీ కృప కొరకై వందనములు. దీనిని స్థాపించిన వారి యొక్క మరి మంచి విజన్ కొరకై మీకు వందనములు చెల్లిస్తున్నాము. ఈ సమయంలో ఆల్ ఇండియా క్రిస్టియన్ ఫెడరేషన్ ఈ జూమ్ మీటింగ్ లో మేమందరము పాల్గొన్న విధానం కొరకై మేమెంతో సంతోషిస్తూ నీకు ఘనత, మహిమ, ప్రభావములు చెల్లిస్తున్నాము. మరి ఇందు నిమిత్తమై దళితులకు కూడా, మరి క్రైస్తవ దళితులకు, మా ప్రభు దళిత క్రిస్టియన్స్ కి వారి యొక్క మత స్వేచ్ఛ వారికి ఇచ్చినట్లుగా ఈ దేశంలో మా ప్రభు వారిని దళితులలో మరి కలుపుటకును, మా ప్రభు వారికి రిజర్వేషన్స్ విషయంలో మేము పోరాడుచూ ఉన్నటువంటి క్రమం లోపల మా దేవ మీ యొక్క కృప నడిపింపును, మీ తోడ్పాటును అనుగ్రహించమని వేడుకొనుచున్నాము. ఇందు నిమిత్తమై మమ్మలను ఎంకరేజ్ చేయడానికి ఈరోజు ప్రసంగించినటువంటి ప్రొఫెసర్ కంచె ఐలయ్య గారిని బట్టి మీకు వందనము చెల్లిస్తున్నాము. పాల్గొన్న నీ బిడ్డలందరినీ కూడా మీరు జ్ఞాపకం చేసుకొని ఈ దళిత కాన్సెప్ట్ లో ఈ దేశంలో మరి దళిత క్రైస్తవులముగా మేము ముందుకు సాగులాగున మాకు మీరు ముందుండి నడిపించి మీ కృపా వాత్సల్యత నడిపింపు, మీ శక్తిని, బలమును అనుగ్రహించమని ఈ జూమ్ మీటింగ్ లో మీరు తోడైండమని నీతోనూ పవిత్రాత్మతోనూ ఐక్య దేవుడిగా ఉన్న ప్రభుక్రీస్తు నామములోనే నేను అడిగి వేడుకొనుచు ప్రార్థిస్తున్నాం మా పరమ తండ్రి. ఆమేన్.
Thank you so much for your precious prayer. And our program tonight, it's going to be, now we're going to have a Bible reading by Dr. Nagendra Kumar, Principal SDGS College, Hindupur. He will be reading from Luke chapter 4, verses 8 through 19. This has been our motto for the AICF organization. AICF was founded inspired by these verses. So I'm going to request Dr. Nagendra Kumar to read the scriptures. And after that, we are going to have a devotional song, 1-2 songs from Soni, Niti, Preeti, students from Banjara Baptist Church. After that, we will have an introduction of AICF Global Network by Brother Gaddapati Vijayaraju, National President of AICF. And after that, we will have keynote speech from Professor Kancha Ailaya. Then we will open forum for the discussions. So now I request Dr. Nagendra Kumar, Principal SDGS College, Hindupur, to read Bible reading from Luke chapter 4, verses 18 through 19, please. Dr. Nagendra Kumar, are you online? Dr. Nagendra Kumar. Oh, okay. Now, I think Dr. Nagendra is not online. So I request Mr. Anbu Raj, AICF President, Tamil Nadu State. Mr. Anbu Raj, AICF Tamil Nadu State President. I request you to read the scripture. Do you have Luke chapter 4, verse 18 to 19?
Sure. Luke chapter 14.
Luke chapter 4, verses 18 through 19, please.
One. From 18, right? Hello?
Yeah.
From 18, right? Okay, I'll read the word.
Yeah, please.
The Spirit of the Lord is on me, because He has anointed me to proclaim the good news to the poor. He has sent me to proclaim freedom for the prisoners and the recovery of sight for the blind, to set the oppressed free, to proclaim the year of the Lord's favor. Amen. 18, 19, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Thank you so much for that. Now I'm going to request Soni Niti Preeti students from Banjara Baptist Church to lead us in a couple of songs. Banjara Baptist Church. Soni, are you online? Banjara Baptist Church, are you online? Soni Niti Preeti. Soni Niti Preeti. I think they might be having some technical issues. Can you hear us, Soni Niti? If they're not coming online, Mr. Vijay Raju.
Our network is not good.
Yeah. So now, since that Banjara Baptist Church group, they're not. I think they might be having some network issues. So now I'm going to request Brother Gaddapati Vijay Raju, founder president of AICF, to give some introduction on AICF Global Network, please.
ఈ సమయంలో ఆల్ ఇండియా క్రిస్టియన్ ఫెడరేషన్ గ్లోబల్ నెట్వర్క్ ద్వారా మేము ఏర్పాటు చేసినటువంటి ఈ జూమ్ మీటింగ్ కు హాజరైనటువంటి ప్రతి ఒక్కరికి పేరు పేరున హృదయపూర్వకమైనటువంటి ధన్యవాదాలు తెలియజేసుకుంటూ ఉన్నాము. మరి ప్రత్యేకంగా ఈరోజు భారతదేశంలోనే కాదు, ప్రపంచవ్యాప్తంగా ఈరోజు ఒక పేరు వినిపిస్తుంది. గతంలో ఒక పేరు వినిపించింది, అది బాబాసాహెబ్ డాక్టర్ బిఆర్ అంబేద్కర్. ఇవాళ మరొక పేరు వినిపిస్తుంది, అదేమిటంటే అభినవ అంబేద్కరుడు డాక్టర్ కంచె ఐలయ్య గారు. ఈ పేరు ప్రపంచవ్యాప్తంగా మారుమోగిపోతుంది. సో దళిత క్రైస్తవులకు ఎస్సీ హోదాకు సంబంధించినటువంటి అంశంపై ఈరోజు ఆల్ ఇండియా క్రిస్టియన్ ఫెడరేషన్ AICF ఏర్పాటు చేసిన ఈ సమావేశంకు ముఖ్య ప్రసంగికులుగా వచ్చినందుకు ప్రత్యేకముగా డాక్టర్ కంచె ఐలయ్య గారికి హృదయపూర్వకమైనటువంటి ధన్యవాదాలు తెలియజేసుకుంటూ ఉన్నాము. అలాగే మరి ప్రపంచవ్యాప్తంగా ఈరోజు అనేక మంది హాజరయ్యారు. జర్మనీ నుండి కూడా ఈరోజు ప్రత్యేకంగా వచ్చారు. వారికి హృదయపూర్వకమైనటువంటి ధన్యవాదాలు. భారతదేశంలోని వివిధ రాష్ట్రాల నుండి అనేక మంది ఈ యొక్క జూమ్ మీటింగ్ వచ్చినందుకు హృదయపూర్వకమైనటువంటి ధన్యవాదాలు తెలియజేసుకుంటూ ఉన్నాను. ఆల్ ఇండియా క్రిస్టియన్ ఫెడరేషన్ 1996వ సంవత్సరం జూన్ 20న ప్రారంభించబడింది. ఒకే ఒక ఎజెండా, సింగిల్ ఎజెండాతో ప్రారంభించబడింది. ఈ సింగిల్ ఎజెండా ఏంటంటే దళిత క్రైస్తవులకు ఎస్సీ హోదా కల్పించాలి. దళిత క్రైస్తవులకు ఎస్సీ హోదాకు సంబంధించినటువంటి సింగిల్ ఎజెండాతో మాత్రమే ఆల్ ఇండియా క్రిస్టియన్ ఫెడరేషన్ ప్రారంభించబడింది. మరి భారత రాజ్యాంగంలో ప్రతి ఒక్కరికి సామాజిక న్యాయం అమలు చేయాలని చెప్పేసి వ్రాయబడింది. బాబాసాహెబ్ డాక్టర్ బిఆర్ అంబేద్కర్ గారు రాజ్యాంగాన్ని చక్కగా రాశారు. అందరికీ సమానమైనటువంటి అవకాశాలు, హక్కులు, భద్రత ఇవన్నీ భారత రాజ్యాంగం మనకు తెలియజేస్తుంది. అయితే భారత రాజ్యాంగానికి విరుద్ధంగా ఆగస్టు 10, 1950వ సంవత్సరంలో ఆనాడున్నటువంటి ఒక రాష్ట్రపతి గారు ఒక ప్రెసిడెన్షియల్ ఆర్డర్ తీసుకువచ్చారు. దాని యొక్క ముఖ్య సారాంశం ఏంటంటే షెడ్యూల్డ్ కులాల వారికి రాజ్యాంగం ఇచ్చినటువంటి హక్కులు, అవకాశాలు పొందుకోవాలి అంటే తప్పనిసరిగా వారు హిందూ మత విశ్వాసాలు అవలంబించాలి అని చెప్పేసి ఆనాడు రాష్ట్రపతి గారు ఉత్తర్వు తీసుకొచ్చారు. భారతదేశంలో మొట్టమొదట జరిగిన రాజ్యాంగ ఉల్లంఘన ఇదే. రాజ్యాంగం ఏమో అందరికీ మత స్వేచ్ఛను కల్పిస్తుంది, రాష్ట్రపతి ఉత్తర్వేమో ఉన్న మత స్వేచ్ఛను తీసివేస్తుంది. ఈ మత స్వేచ్ఛ లేని కారణం చేత ఇవాళ భారతదేశంలో దళితులు అనేకమైనటువంటి అవమానాలకు గురవుతూ ఉన్నారు, అభద్రతకు లోనవుతూ ఉన్నారు. మరి ఈ పరిస్థితిని సవరింపజేసి వారందరికీ సామాజిక న్యాయాన్ని అమలు చేయాలనేటువంటి ఒక ఎజెండాతో ది వాయిస్ ఆఫ్ సోషల్ జస్టిస్ అంటూ ఆల్ ఇండియా క్రిస్టియన్ ఫెడరేషన్ 1996వ సంవత్సరంలో ప్రారంభించడం జరిగింది. మరి దాని ద్వారా మేము ప్రస్తుతం సుప్రీం కోర్టులో కూడా ఒక పిటిషన్ వేశాం. రిట్ పిటిషన్ సివిల్ నెంబర్ 579 ఆఫ్ 2009 మరి ఈరోజు సుప్రీం కోర్టులో ఉన్నది. అది కాన్స్టిట్యూషన్ బెంచ్ పరిధిలో ఉన్నది. మరి దీని కొరకు మేము ఈరోజు న్యాయ పోరాటం కూడా చేస్తూ ఉన్నాము. అటు ప్రజల్లో చైతన్యం తీసుకొస్తూ, పొలిటికల్ గా అందరినీ కలుస్తూ సామాజిక న్యాయం కొరకు ఆల్ ఇండియా క్రిస్టియన్ ఫెడరేషన్ పనిచేస్తూ ఉంది. ఈ ఆల్ ఇండియా క్రిస్టియన్ ఫెడరేషన్ భారతదేశంలోనే అనేకమైనటువంటి రాష్ట్రాలలో మరి నాయకత్వం కలిగి ఉన్నది. ముఖ్యంగా ఆంధ్రప్రదేశ్, తెలంగాణ, తమిళనాడు, పాండిచ్చేరి, కర్ణాటక, ఢిల్లీ ఇలాంటి రాష్ట్రాలన్నిటిలో కూడా బహుబలమైనటువంటి సంస్థగా ఈరోజు ఆల్ ఇండియా క్రిస్టియన్ ఫెడరేషన్ ఉన్నది. మరి దీని ద్వారా మేము ఈరోజు పనిచేస్తూ ఉన్నాము. మరి సామాజిక న్యాయం కొరకు మరి పనిచేసేటువంటి క్రమంలో మరి మాలాంటి చిన్న వాళ్లకు ఒక పెద్ద దిక్కుగా ఇవాళ, బహుజనులందరికీ పెద్ద దిక్కుగా ఇవాళ పెద్దలు ప్రొఫెసర్ డాక్టర్ కంచె ఐలయ్య గారు ఉన్నారు. మరి వారి యొక్క వాక్కులు, వారి యొక్క సందేశమే ఇవాళ మనకు ముఖ్యమైనటువంటిది. వారు ఇచ్చేటువంటి ఆ సందేశం మన జాతికి మరి దిశ దశ చూపించే దాని కొరకు ఉంటుంది కనుక మరి మనమందరం కూడా చాలా శ్రద్ధ కలిగి మరి ప్రత్యేకంగా వారి సందేశం కొరకు మనం ఈరోజు అందరూ కూడా, నేను ఎక్కడెక్కడ వాళ్ళతో మాట్లాడుతున్నప్పుడు అయ్యా కీనోట్ అడ్రస్ మరి ప్రొఫెసర్ గారు ఇస్తున్నారు అనగానే వాళ్ళలో ఒక నూతనమైనటువంటి ఉత్తేజం, ఒక ఉజ్జీవాన్ని నేను చూడగలిగాను. మరి ఆ ఉజ్జీవానికి సంబంధించి వారు మనకు ఈ యొక్క అభినవ అంబేద్కరుడు మనకు మరి దిశ దశ చూపించే దాని కొరకు సిద్ధంగా ఉన్నారు కనుక మనమందరం శ్రద్ధతో ఆలకిద్దాం. మరి ఆల్ ఇండియా క్రిస్టియన్ ఫెడరేషన్ చేస్తున్నటువంటి ఈ న్యాయ పోరాటానికి మరి ప్రతి ఒక్కరు కూడా మీ సంఘీభావాన్ని తెలియచేయాలని, ముఖ్యంగా AICF నాయకులు ఇంకా ఈరోజు మరి ప్రొఫెసర్ గారు ఇచ్చే సందేశంతో బలోపేతం పొందుకొని ఈ ఉద్యమాన్ని మరింత ముందుకు నడిపించాలని చెప్పేసి నేను కోరుకుంటూ సెలవు తీసుకుంటున్నాను. థ్యాంక్ యూ. జై భీమ్.
అన్న వాయిస్ వస్తుందా అన్న?
ఇప్పుడు వస్తుంది తల్లి. ఓకే, గుడ్ గుడ్. యా,
I want to thank brother Vijay Raju for his words, and now Soni Niti Preeti, they are online, so we request a couple of songs from them, and after that we will go to our keynote address by Professor Kancha Alayaji.
Thank you for giving this opportunity to Anna. So the first song we are going to sing is in Telugu language. ప్రేమించితివో దేవా, అందుకో నా దీన స్తుతి పాత్ర. హల్లెలూయా యేసయ్యా, హల్లెలూయా యేసయ్యా. నా పాపము పాప నరరూపివైనావు, నా శాపము పాప నలిగి వేలాడితివి, నా పాపము పాప నరరూపివైనావు, నా శాపము పాప నలిగి వేలాడితివి. నాకు చాలిన దేవుడవు నీవే, నా స్థానములో నీవే. నాకు చాలిన దేవుడవు నీవే, నా స్థానములో నీవే. హల్లెలూయా యేసయ్యా, హల్లెలూయా యేసయ్యా. ఎందుకో నన్నెంతగా నీవు ప్రేమించితివో దేవా, అందుకో నా దీన స్తుతి పాత్ర. హల్లెలూయా యేసయ్యా, హల్లెలూయా యేసయ్యా. నీ రూపము నాలో నిర్మించియున్నావు, నీ పోలికలోనే నివసించుచున్నావు, నీ రూపము నాలో నిర్మించియున్నావు, నీ పోలికలోనే నివసించుచున్నావు. నీవు నన్ను ఎన్నుకొంటివే, నీ కొరకై నీ కృపలో. నీవు నన్ను ఎన్నుకొంటివే, నీ కొరకై నీ కృపలో. హల్లెలూయా యేసయ్యా, హల్లెలూయా యేసయ్యా. నీ సన్నిధి నాలో నా నన్ను విడువానంటివే. నీవు నేను ఏకమగు వరకు నన్ను విడువానంటివే. హల్లెలూయా యేసయ్యా, హల్లెలూయా యేసయ్యా. ఎందుకో నన్నెంతగా నీవు ప్రేమించితివో దేవా. అందుకో నా దీన స్తుతి పాత్ర. హల్లెలూయా యేసయ్యా, హల్లెలూయా యేసయ్యా. Now we're gonna sing an English song. Blood is for the water, so much song that's after thee. You alone are my heart's desire, and I long to worship you. You alone are my strength, my shield. To you alone may my spirit yield. You alone are my heart's desire, and I long to worship you. You're my friend, and you are my brother, even though you are a king. I love you more than any other, so much more than anything. You alone are my strength, my shield. To you alone may my spirit yield. You alone are my heart's desire, and I long to worship thee. You alone are my heart's desire, and I long to worship thee. This is a Banjara song we are gonna sing. This is a shortcut of a gospel where Jesus did the miracle in the Bible. Hope you all enjoy. अबे तानु बल्कि वो कोई की देखो नीरा से गाना इनो से मारी कामर की दोरा तो एक रोज दे सारी सत्ते रो दे सारी बल्कि रो दे सारी जगे रो दे तो एक रोज दे सारी सत्ते रो दे सारी बल्कि रो दे सारी जगे रो दे अबे तानु बल्कि वो कोई की देखो नीरा अबे तानु बल्कि वो कोई की देखो नीरा येसुदेवा एकलो छे पारी कामर की तोरा येसुदेवा एकलो छे पारी कामर की तोरा उतो एकलो छे सारी सत्ते रो दे सारी बल्कि रो दे सारी जगे रो दे उतो एकलो छे सारी सत्ते रो दे सारी बल्कि रो दे सारी जगे रो दे दस्सी कोड़ रोगे वाला अन्नु पूछे देवनर दस्सी कोड़ रोगे वाला अन्नु पूछे देवनर हमारो जीवदानी आशो कर कलर अमरोग जीवदानी आशो कर कलर दसियाचं वेगेरे एकलो नामो येसुनर दसियाचं वेगेरे एकलो नामो येसुनर उतो एकलो जते सारी सत्य रोदे सारी बलके रोदे सारी जगे रोदे उतो एकलो जते सारी सत्य रोदे सारी बलके रोदे सारी जगे रोदे एक दाड भलन चले चाले संद्रेप एक दाड भलन चले चाले संद्रेप आंधी गोच आई जन्ना चमके बोरचे डार आंधी उंगळ आई जन्ना चमके
I'm on a speech. I will call you later.
आंधी रथ माडोर चेला नगर कारोर आंधी रथ माडोर उतो एकलो जते सारी सत्य रोदे सारी बलके रोदे सारी जगे रोदे उतो एकलो जते सारी सत्य रोदे सारी बलके रोदे सारी जगे रोदे उच्चकदाड भलन चले चाले संद्रेप उच्चकदाड भलन चले चाले संद्रेप छेड़ते सुदेवर पाणी प्रचालन आयोर छेड़ते सुदेवर पाणी प्रचालन आरोर चेला गंगा चालन पाणी पडूब गोचर पेदुर गंगा चालन पाणी पडूब गोचर उतो एकलो जगे सारी सत्य रोदे सारी बलके रोदे सारी जगे रोदे उतो एकलो जगे सारी सत्य रोदे सारी बलके रोदे सारी जगे रोदे अम्बे तानु बलके वो कोई कीदे को नीर अम्बे तानु बलके वो कोई कीदे को नीर येसुदेव एकलो ज भारी काम की तोर येसुदेव एकलो ज भारी काम की तोर उतो एकलो जते सारी सत्य रोदे सारी बलके रोदे सारी जगे रोदे उतो एकलो जते सारी सत्य रोदे सारी बलके रोदे सारी जगे रोदे
Good.
Thank you,
Soni
everyone.
Niti Preeti. Soni Niti Preeti, you're beautiful. You sing very, very beautifully. We want to thank you so much for singing for us tonight. And may God bless three of you. And also we want to thank Pastor D. Gopal Naik, your father, for letting us hear from you. So we want to appreciate and congratulate your congregation, also Banjara Baptist Church. May God bless your church. May God bless your work, especially Preeti, Soni, Niti. May God bless you abundantly. And now we're going to hear from Professor Kancha Alaya, sir. And like AICF President, Brother Gadapati Vijay Raju have already shared about Professor Alaya ji. He is modern Ambedkar. He has been to several countries. He has been on several platforms defending the rights of the marginalized, defending the rights of the Dalits. And he is a great friend of our church, and he's a great man. And we are blessed by God to have him in our midst. And we are very, very grateful for his work and his service to the Dalit people in this country and around the world. And like Brother Vijay have shared already, Dalits, as we all know, the caste system in India, it's been here for centuries, and the caste system was so evil. It went on for centuries, and Dalits were not allowed to go to schools, and they were treated less than dogs. And fortunately, by the grace of God, we had Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, who stood for the rights of these people, and he drafted the Constitution. And in order to bring the people who were marginalized for centuries, in order to bring them back into society, Ambedkar have given us reservations. And the Constitution came into effect on 26 January 1950, which we celebrated as Republic Day a few days ago. And but a few days later, on August 10th, 1950, the same year where Dalits have gotten freedoms. That same year, August 10, 1950, President made an executive order removing rights from those Dalits who follow other faiths, like Christianity or Islam or whatever it may be. If they don't follow Hindu faith, they were not given these privileges, but reservations were given based on their backwardness and how they were discriminated and all that. So it's a injustice. It's been here for more than 70 years, and this must be stopped because Dalit Christian brothers and sisters, they're suffering greatly. So it is imperative that we stand against this injustice and bring them freedom. So today we're going to hear from Professor Kancha Alaya, sir. You are Modern Ambedkar. We want to thank you from the bottom of our hearts for coming here tonight, and please share your thoughts and how we should go forward, how we can win in this fight, because it's been more than 70 years. So please give us your guidance, your advice, so that we move forward in the right way and win the rights for our people. Now the floor is yours, and thank you for your comments.
Well, thank you very much for this opportunity. I thank the All India Christian Federation for organizing this meeting this evening. I was really delighted to hear those Banjara church girls singing beautiful songs in all three languages, and particularly the Banjara song was so beautiful. I really appreciate those girls to have done that great job. All the best, young girls. This question of Dalit Christians and their status today in India vis-a-vis what they have been describing as Hindu Christians, and there is also another category within the same Indian social system, economic system, as well as recognized by the Constitution, the scheduled tribes of India. Historically in the Constitution, the scheduled section of the Constitution put both scheduled castes and scheduled tribes on the same plane. And so as of now, you all know that the scheduled castes have no reservation rights, whereas the scheduled tribes do have reservation rights, whatever could be their religion. Now, there's a very recent book in my hands. This is called Being the Adivasi, written by a very young scholar who just died before this book came into market few months back, Abai Flavian Zaza. Now, whatever religion the tribes belong to, they were given the right to reservation, whether they could be, as they described, Hindu, which actually the tribals never described themselves as Hindu. But the Constitution and the other social scientists, universities, and more so the RSS, BJP, who are in power, describe those who are not Christian, those who are not Muslim tribes as Hindu tribes. But there, the reservation right is irrespective of their religion. In fact, many tribes have their ancestral religious practices, as many Dalits have in the plains. whom they are trying to describe as Hindu, but they have their ancestral spiritual practices which do not conform to the Hindu Vedic Upanishadic and then the epic traditions. Now this distinction, as my friend said in the introduction, it came through the Presidential Order of 1951. That order talked about only the scheduled castes which need to be Hindu to enjoy the right to reservation, both in education, employment, and other welfare measures, what the scheduled section talks about. Now, I think that there's a need to debate why the same constitutional clause which talks about scheduled castes and scheduled tribes in one frame were divided there in the presidential order. I think in the Supreme Court, when your lawyers argue the case, that should be the basis. The constitutional frame in the beginning, as it was introduced to Constituent Assembly by Ambedkar, and as it was debated and adopted in 1950, does not make the distinction between scheduled castes and scheduled tribes in terms of religion. For additional constitutional benefits that they deserve because of their historical location and status. Now, for this, a lot of research needs to be done, both comparing, because one problem among the Christians is, this is a very unfortunate problem. It not only confines to Dalit Christians, but Christians as a whole, including the Catholics, who are basically from the Brahmin and Nair communities in Kerala, and then from Western India, the Brahmins and Banyas and so on, are more in Catholicism. Indian Christians were never into serious historical research. If you don't do historical research and put a concrete data-based argument or history-based argument before the Supreme Court, you don't win the game. Now, Dalit Christians, of course, there are very recent converted Christians on their own, historical converted, and some of them do not have good education. There is a huge agrarian labor presence among Christian Dalits across the country. But at the same time, there is also an educated section among them. But they have not taken to serious research of writing of history of caste, including their own, relating it to the religious question historically. See, you take, for example, this problem is with Muslims also. Muslims ruled this country for 800 years, and there are large number of Muslims educated abroad, I'm sure there are more number of Dalit Christians educated in foreign universities than the OBCs of India. You must take a database. Somebody should focus around studying. And the Christian civilization is meant for research. But somehow Indian Christians don't do that. Indian Christians think that if you keep on crying about the sin that, and you're all Dalits and you call yourself sinners. No, Dalits are not sinners in India. Even Jesus would not like that. It is the Brahmins, Banyas, Kayasthas, the people who have the Chennai, they are sinners. Whereas you call yourself an everyday sinner and sing songs about your sin and then don't do serious research and get into data and history and ideology mobilization. So the first point is you have to ask at least a dozen scholars who are educated in very good foreign universities, Indian universities, to start a project to immediately work on history, anthropology, and a comparative study of the tribals and Dalits. See, you can prove on one count very simply that the tribals and Dalits, whether they are Christians or non-Christians, do have common DNA. And particularly Dalit Christians and Dalits, tribals who are also Christians. You take their DNA studies. Somebody should do a DNA study of them. Whether it is the Christians of Central India, tribal Christians, or the Gujaratis in Dong region, or in the South India. Tony Joseph, who is a Christian background scholar who wrote this book, Early Indians, has established that the most exploited caste, namely Dalits, most of the Shudras, this book which we wrote recently on Shudras, we have a common blood stream of Indo-Africans and Indo-Asians who were not Aryans. And such blood stream is more among Adivasis and Dalits, about 60%. So this could be definitely matching between Dalit Christians and Dalit tribals. So you have to employ huge number of people, well educated. No, don't think that your prayer will give you justice in a country of rulers who have no respect for God. The Brahminic forces have no respect for God because they don't work. They will have to eat by exploitation and by telling lies. Books are lies. History is lie. What they write. Therefore, I've been telling that don't believe any book or any article that is written by a Brahmin, whatever is ideological proclamation. Because they tell lies. They're secular, they're socialists, they're communists, they're RSS or whatever. So we have to write our history and place before the Supreme Court in tons. The Supreme Court should be surprised with your database. Now, what will the database prove if you mobilize the Dalit Christians and non-Christian Dalits, and the tribals who are Dalit or not, who are Christian or not, who have no different categories of reservation, they have same blood stream. The DNA stream will be matching. And that does not match with Brahmin, that does not match with Banyas. And even among the intermixed blood groups of Shudras, let us say, because there was more possibility of Shudras, women having interrelationship with Brahmins and Banyas and Kayastras. So there could be a lot of variations in Punjab, in Gujarat, in South India. It may not be so much because by and large the bloodstream is Indo-African. We can see that from our skin structure and so on. Now, number two, if you don't produce thinkers, what is the Dalit population? It is roughly 2011 census, according to that, 16.6%. Now, that roughly works out to 24 crore people. Now, within that, even if you take Dalit Christians, as per their own data, they constitute about, assuming within the Dalits, if they constitute about 10%, in the entire population, they may constitute about 3%, 4%, but RSS itself is saying there are more number of Dalits than what the data is showing, Christian than the data is showing. Even then, the Dalit Christians could be easily about 2 to 3 crores, and put together, they are far higher than the Israelite population. Entire Israelites are 9 millions. And look at their intellectual work. And with Christian tradition, you should also be able to produce work on par with the Israel people, at least. And there is an international exposure to them. But it is mostly around, around gospel and so on and so forth. No, a group of people have to get into social science. Now, if you do that, then you challenge the presidential order based on this differentiation in 1951 itself. Then after that, now you have a tough game because the case is before the Supreme Court from 2009 onwards. Perhaps if it were to come during the UPA period UPA period was only, but it is a long time, earlier than many other governments were there. So while Supreme Court does not want to hear the case and finally, so how much argument strength you also collected from 2009 after the Federation is saying we filed the petition. But it is not just 2-3 lawyers' argument. How much research base you worked out, you have to show that to the court. The other major point is, are Dalit Christians politicized? I don't think so. See, we have seen in Andhra Pradesh, there was a political party, Christian secular party formed, and then even the limited number of population you have, assuming that the whole Christian population is 3.5% or 3% as the data shows. But if the Dalit Christians are definitely more than half of the total Christian population, if you are politicized, you have created a leadership that can address the nation from Delhi, then one major problem will be solved. See, take for example, around the Congress, there were Catholic leaders, whether it was, Kerala, Anthony, or this man, that man. There were even Mangalorean Catholics. There were recognizable political faces from Catholics. Where is a Dalit Christian political leader face with the capability of addressing all India and global political platforms? Why that is not coming? What is the problem? So that means you have to produce a Martin Luther King among Dalit Christians. If you don't produce that, court will not listen your argument. Court does not just listen based on your 2-3 lawyers going and arguing there, unless there are constant processions, constant public meetings. Now tell me, you can have Christian prayer meetings with lakhs of attendance. And this speaker, that speaker, they can come and then they mobilize lakhs of people. How many public meetings you organize on the question of Dalit Christian reservation with 2 lakh people? Did you do that? Can anyone say yes in this audience?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
2 lakh with 2 lakh people. I'm saying with 2 lakh people in a city like Delhi, in Ramlila Maidan, or in a city like Hyderabad. At least I have not known that. But you have to have that focusing with one political face. Now the problem among Dalit Christians is that they don't accept one leader. Leader emergence is a problem, of course. I see that. But they don't accept. Everybody thinks that everybody is a leader. No, that is not the way you achieve your political, social, and rights issues in the democracy. In the democracy, there has to be a leader. And this is not going to be won by each reverend or each moderator of a dais or each bishop can address his own gathering, have a small TV network of his own, our own. It doesn't work like that. Now, I'm trying to be very blunt, how you have to be successful in the fight. So, and first of all, there must emerge a political leader with a political language from the Dalit Christian networks, and all of them accept him, because unless you project no leader comes. You have to project. Claim is not enough. And that leader should go around the country, and everywhere there must be mass mobilization around the single agenda. The Dalits and tribals have become common scheduled people, and when tribals don't have religious differentiation, why Dalits should have? They will give some, database that Christian Dalits are better educated and non-Christian Dalits are not educated, and church gives some education and so on and so forth. But by and large, what is the economic status of Dalit Christians vis-a-vis the non-Dalit Christians? Also, a lot of research needs to be done, and it must be put before the court and the larger argument. Now, why I'm saying Indian Christians, not only Dalit Christians, have no political agenda and political imagination. See, when Ambedkar was asked that why you did not think of Christianity, because you were exposed to the Christian world and you studied in the Christian world, and then during your student days, the Black Christians of America were making waves of new thought. Then Ambedkar's reply was very simple. He said, I would have thought of becoming a Christian if Indian Christianity was a politicized religion. Religion has to be politicized. Then he explained what does politicized religion mean. Christians never talk about rights outside the church. It is time. Later on, some changes happened, no doubt. Now, when we took the Dalit issue to Durban, there were Christian intellectuals who walked across the world, and then it was put before the UN conference, and Indian government did not accept that. But there was an attempt, and Christian small groups intellectual groups have done some phenomenal job. But that is not enough. So you have to politicize the community, both in the normal life, also in the church. Church has to be a political platform like the Black church. Now, where did great Black leaders come from? All great Black leaders, whether it is Nelson Mandela, or whether it is Martin Luther King, or many other, Frederick Douglass, or many other leaders, came from Black church. Church also taught politics. It is not just about heaven and hell and then sin and God's praise. You praise the God, but you praise Jesus, but Jesus has to be politicized in India. Jesus is a political force. When you are reading Luke 18 and 19, what is he saying? He's telling politics. He was a slave liberator. There was caste system in Israel when he was preaching and fighting. And there were Samaritans who were untouchables. There were Gentiles who were Shudras. There were Pharisees who were Brahmins. There were priests. And there were tribes which have not come into play also at that time. So he abolished all of them through his teaching, but not in the church, in the synagogue, because he was expelled from synagogue by the Jews at that time. So Jesus was not apolitical. Jesus was political. And your Sermon on the Mount is a political statement of Jesus. Kingdom of God on the earth, what does it mean? Kingdom of God on this earth means an absolutely equal socialist state. Equal socialist division of wealth. And the poorest of the poor will get the land and rights and food and education. And, for example, on this question of English for all in the government schools. When I was writing tons of articles that government schools should have English medium, I have not seen a single Christian scholar writing an article that yes, all government schools should have English because God understands all languages, English. Brahman says their gods understand only Sanskrit. Muslims also say that their God understands only Arabic. But are you Christians saying that? Where our Banjara girls sang 3 songs in 3 languages. Because Jesus and God understand all languages. So India should become English. That is the reason why I added shepherd to my name, Kancha Ilaya Shepherd. You read my autobiography, from a shepherd boy to an intellectual. So why don't Dalit Christians add to their name at the end, what is their profession in English? When I added shepherd, a lot of people, this Paripurnananda and then RSS people, everybody started saying he is Christian, this and that. I said, you people don't even understand English, understand it, that language. Shepherd is not Christian. Shepherd is Gorilla Kapari, is one who grazes sheep. My parents were shepherds. What belief I have about God and religion is a different question. So a Dalit Christian who is a labor can have labor at the end of the name, or tanner, or cobbler, or tiller. Dalits are tillers of the land. You have end name, and then they will understand what work you did. What is the roots that you have? Or RSS is trying to say that once you became Christian, you went out of agrarian labor. Now, did you become Brahmin by not producing anything? They don't produce anything. They don't till the land. They don't graze even their own, what they call cow as goddess. They don't graze that cow. But it is Dalit Christians who do it. So you have to tell the world that your roots start in India from Harappan civilization days, even much before, to present. You are indigenous. But how do you prove that? So all of you had some Jewish name or some English name from outside, or mostly, Bible names. But Bible also has Isaiah, Jeremiah, Zechariah. All your Telugu translations are wrong. See, Isaiah, Jeremiah, Zechariah, Elijah, Malaya, Pulaya, Periyar Ramaswamy was known as Ayya. So that you translate as it is. Why did you translate that ununderstandable Telugu, Tamil, Malayalam like a Brahmin Sanskrit? So this problem you cannot resolve just putting before the court. You have to create a counter-Indian culture by owning your production system, your leather technology. Where did the Dalits get separate from Shudras? There is a big article which I wrote. It is there online. It is published in Mainstream. You can see that the untouchables were separated from Shudras based on their leather work. Once they started handling the leather issues of dead animal, all those leather workers, after the Brahmins came and settled here, they wrote their Vedas and Upanishads, separated leather workers as untouchables. And that was the reason why all over world, particularly Israel, when the Bible was written, the Old Testament, when Moses wrote his 5 first chapters of Bible, and then Isaiah, and then subsequent Bible writers, all of them wrote on leather scrolls. You know, Brahmin did not write on leather scrolls. They wrote on talapatras, tati akulu, that palm leaves. I mean, writing on palm leaves is a stupid thing. Leather scroll is like a paper. I've seen in Israel, in the Museum of Bible original writing, all of them are written on leather scrolls, which are like paper. And they were folded and put into a pot and hidden in the mountains. So Isaiah's total script of a book written in 7th century BC is as it is on the leather scrolls. But Brahmins never wrote on leather because they don't touch it. And Shudras, whether Reddis, Kamas, or Jats, Gujars, or whatever, Marathas, they were never allowed to write, and their brains also did not work. So if you add your name to your end with a dignity that you are a cobbler, a leather worker, you will be understood by the world that you made this country. The first industry is produced by Dalit themselves. And you became Christian only in the recent past. Christianity started only in the 1st century AD. But the Dalits as Indians, as human beings, were there for several centuries, 65,000 years before Christ. We migrated from African continent, 65,000 years. So therefore, the Dalit Christians have to create a better knowledge than general Dalits. But today they are not doing. General Dalits have done wonderfully well. I have a number of scholar friends from non-Christian Dalits, young people. After Ambedkar, they emerged. Why did not from Dalit Christians? Suraj Angde is a very young guy who is in Harvard now. Can't you send some people to Harvard, Oxford, Cambridge and educate them and bring back and then make them thinkers and writers and leaders here? I will tell the OBCs and Shudras to follow them. And where are such writers, thinkers? So Ambedkar did not become just like that Ambedkar. So what I would tell is, if you want to win the battle when RSS BJP is ruling, who want to finish Shudras themselves, they said Muslims and Christians are our enemies when they were coming to power. And Shudras believed and they voted them. Narendra Modi said, I am also an OBC. They voted them. And once the Muslim problem, they resolved, Ram Temple issue, Kashmir, Triple Talaq, then they went after Shudras, brought formulas to make Shudras slaves what they were in ancient India. And at least the Punjabi Sikh Shudras understood the rebellion started, they defeated at least for now. The Shudras will not be left by RSS Brahmanism. They will be made slaves again they will finish all the regional parties also. That's what I have been telling. So what you have to do is two things. Focus on picking up the brilliant Dalit Christian boys and girls and put them with pooled up money in the world-class social science universities. Ask them to become great scholars like Ambedkar, Martin Luther King, Nelson Mandela. Then come back to India. Then work here, lead here. Constantly they should write in English. See, unless they write and defeat Brahmins in writing, you cannot win your rights in India. Because Brahmins controlled all castes through their mituous books. Very, very lies and mituous books. And you have to write truth in a challenging way so that they could be defeated, that too in English only. Because Christians know English. At least all of us are having a conference in English. I can't have an English speaking conference with OBCs in India. Even with the Shudras, they may be Kammas, Reddys. I can't have English debate, Zoom meeting in English language with them. But you have not produced political, social science, world-class intellectuals. You have produced some church leaders. That will not win your battle. So there are brilliant women among you. Brilliant girls are coming up. Educate them in world-class universities. Select them, educate them, make them leaders. And this data you put before the Supreme Court. Lawyers cannot win the argument in silent courtroom. That is not the nature of Indian judiciary. I know I also have cases on me now. So therefore, I would only say that this federation must work different ideological framework. And you must produce whole nation recognizable leadership, intellectuals. Tony Joseph is recognized because of his world-class book, Early Indians. But he is not politicizing himself. He says, I'm not a politicized person. No, there should be a political intellectual leader like Ambedkar from among you. So thank you very much. Now you can have some questions.
Professor Kanchailaya, sir, we want to thank you so much for your valuable. Professor Kanchailaya Shapad, we want to thank you so much for your valuable thoughts and for giving us goals what we should do to move forward. And we're going to.
Now tell me before somebody asks an answer, what could be your roots in terms of work of your parents, grandparents in English?
Wow.
You don't know? Then you are not a Dalit.
They were farmers. That much I remember.
They were farmers.
And
that means tiller, right? Tiller.
Yeah, yes.
Tiller, right?
Yes.
Yeah, you add tiller to your
so
name. Or
tiller,
farmer
okay.
to your name, no problem. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So we want to appreciate that. And now we're going to guests who are online. If you can share your thoughts and ask any questions and how we go forward and all that. And before anybody begins, I would like to ask regarding this DNA test, okay? Regarding the DNA bloodstream and all that, how do we go about that? How do we get that database? Professor Ailey.
This is the book
Can you hear me?
that Tony Joseph has recently written based on DNA of Indian population.
Okay.
And you buy copies of this. It is available online. It's called Early Indians by Tony Joseph. He is an Indian scholar living in Delhi now. He says, as per the DNA studies done by global scholars on Indian population, Adivasis and probably Dalits. He didn't add Dalits in that, but I want a DNA test to be done by microbiologists on Dalits. If they do DNA tests of Dalit Christians on a random sample and compare that with the Adivasis, Tony Joseph says Adivasis have about 60% of Indo-African DNA. So the early settlement DNA, Dalits could have, if not 60, maybe 50 or 45, we don't know. So there could be a sample studies. Scholars will know that once you ask them to go for this study and then put, if necessary, before the Supreme Court, how the tribal DNA and the Dalit Christian DNA as a commonality, they will work out. It is for the scientists.
Okay. And one strange thing is, in a house, there could be two brothers. And one is Malaya, then one is a Christian, one is a non-Christian. They're same father, but one is given those rights, one is not given those reservations. So, yeah, we will look into that book, Early Indians book, and also this is a great. I think this is a great advice regarding these DNA studies and putting that forth in front of the Supreme Court. It would have really great impact on that. So we will take your advice very seriously on that. And Bishop Samuel, you have a question.
Yes. Yes.
No, then you know what the Supreme Court will say is that once you became a Christian, you have acquired the right to become the pastor, which is equivalent to priest in the Hindu temple. And you have acquired many other equal rights within the spiritual temple, whereas the other brother does not have that in Hindu system. So therefore, Hindu system is still discriminates. So they need not. But I think there's a lot of historical evidence that Dalit Christians were also not given equal rights within the church for a long time, where there was a mixed church. So unless it is a special church of Dalits, in Kerala you have. So the other side will put arguments from their own point of view. You have to prepare a much more serious ground-based argument.
We'll definitely take that. We'll definitely take that into consideration. We'll put for the bigger. But in Andhra and Telangana, if a person says when somebody asks the caste, if the person says I'm a Christian, and immediately the next question that follows is, are you Malar Madiga? Okay, so it is a known fact among our Telugu states and some of the southern states as well that Christianity is not changing the caste. Our suffering is not from the church. Of course, there is discrimination in the church, even in the United States a few years ago, and even in India and some of those places, there are black churches, white churches, and all that. So we do have discrimination even among the Christians, upper caste Christians and lower. the non-Christian. It's not our struggle is not with the church, but our struggle is with the society who discriminate us and all that. So we really value your advice on this, and we will definitely put forth when the court asks that. So Bishop Samuel, please.
Yes, sir, Professor Kanche Aile, sir. Good evening. I am Bishop Dr. Jacob Samuel Apikatla. I am Bishop Dr. Jacob Samuel Apikatla, the National Working President of All India Christian Federation. I am from Kodak. Sir, my grandfather, late Adams, and my father, Reverend Apikatla Devasaham, they are cobblers. I come from that cobbler family. As he told us, so we have to, in your speech, I could able to understand, we have to put our last name.
Okay, got cut. I mean, there is problem there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, though we come from cobbler family, and still we are discriminated by the society, sir. Society in the sense by Shudras in our state, Telangana state and Andhra state.
So, no, you are right, but the very Telangana and Andhra Pradesh have also proved that after the Madiga Dandora movement,
yes, sir,
when they added Madiga to their end name, their status increased, not decreased. They have really got galvanized. If you add cobbler, not Madiga, Madiga is understood only in Telugu regions.
Yes, sir, exactly.
If you add cobbler, even Americans can understand what is your hope.
Okay.
Canadians understand, Chinese understand. So your root strength is global there.
Yes, sir.
That is very important.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
We request any of our guests for your comments, your suggestions, and your questions for our professor. And also we want to thank Mr. Walter Hahn, who's joined us from Germany. We're very thankful for his work. And if you'd like to say a few things, we'll be very happy.
Hi, Walter. How are you? Walter, are you there?
I think he might be having some technical issues, but he can
if you don't mind,
anytime.
Would you please give me one more chance to ask one question?
Yes, please.
Professor, sir, just in your speech, I could be able to understand, you told us All India Christian Federation to tie up with one a major political party.
No, I'm not saying that. It is not the question of tying up.
Yeah.
You have to create leaders from movements first.
Political leaders.
Yeah, organization. See, for example, Krishna Madiga emerged. He's not from a political party.
Yes,
later on, at some stage, once you are organizing them into a solid group, political parties will come running to that leader.
Yes, sir.
But there is no national level recognizable face of Dalit Christian leader whose voice can be heard by the media, because the church leadership is not important for national media.
Yes, sir.
You may be bishop, you may be moderator, or you may be anything. But
Bishop
they
or
need a
something.
political leader.
Yes, sir. Okay, okay. Thank you, sir.
Christians some of your thoughts that Christians must be in politics, that's very important. Here in India, people are not really, the church is not really understanding, but when you go to Western countries and all that, we have Christians as leaders and all that. So as long as we are on this earth, we are connected with the world, we are connected with the church, we are connected with politics, we are connected with the society. So unless we are in politics, unless we play active role in politics, we will be doomed. So we really appreciate your comments on that. And I see Dr. Nagendra Kumarji. Yes, please.
No. What I'm saying, Jyoti, is not just be in politics. Mm-hmm. You have to make your church a political force also. It is not just being in politics. When Martin Luther King was a bishop, was a pastor, what he did was he started speaking both religious and political messages in his church itself. He was a pastor. So there are many blacks who were pastors and who became political leaders. So you have to organize church. You have to tell the church members every Sunday, apart from reading chapters of Bible and then talking about hell and heaven and this and that, about the politics of the nation, about the exploitation, about the suffering. So you have to use the black church methods in India because you are as exploited as blacks were, slaves were. That's the model you have to adopt within the church. So every church coming person should be a politically aware, politically knowledgeable person while reading Bible and reading Christian history and also read Indian history and Indian life. So, and then, produce a lot of singers, right? You train them. Similarly, you have to train politicians within the church.
That's a great point. Training politicians in the church, being aware of that. I think that's a great point in there. I see Dr. Nagendra Kumar, please.
A very good evening, sir.
Yeah.
Happy to meet you all in this meeting. It's a privilege to talk to you, especially intellectual property of India from Dalits, Kancha Ilayya garu. Sir, I have two doubts. One is Adivasi related to only tribes or it belongs to Dalits also? Because we have Adi Andhra, Adi Karnataka. In the same way, we have in every state who are not tribes but Adivasis. That is one question that I wanted to clear from your speaker. The second one, as we have freedom of religion from our Constitution of India, how to get recognition for all churchgoers as Christians? Because I have one query here. We have Dalits into many categories. One, Dalits who are Dalits now, and Dalits who are converted into various religions. Now we call Dalit Christians, Dalit Muslims, Dalit, etc., etc. So all these Dalit people, as you told, their DNA is common. If you compare, almost all Dalits, they share the same DNA. And when it comes to the recognition in the society or in the politics or in any scenario that we have, how to clear the way for all these people to get recognized as Christians who are converted from Dalits but did not register themselves in records. The reason, we find more Christians only in churches. If you take the attendance from January to December, the attendance of the church will be, maybe it will be more than what we have in the records of our census. So how to solve this problem? Because we find more Christians in churches, if you take attendance on a regular basis, and how to create responsibility of the church, number one, then the Christianity, number two, and the gospel and other things that needs to be done when you are calling yourself as a Christian. And the other thing, how to convince these pastors and the church leaders that all church goers, they have to come up in politics, and they have to come up, because we have only one thing, we are listeners. We are listeners, we are listening. We are not reading, we are not writing. So these two are limiting our capacities. If you are reading, then you can write. If you are writing, also you can read some other books, because you need to have a passion. So these are certain scenarios where you can solve some of our church-goer problems. Because Dalit Christians means people who are converted and changed their religion. And what about people who are going to church but did not change their either religion or any other this thing? So in this slide, I would like to have an enlightening message from you, sir. Thank you.
No, first major problem is naturally when they are Christian, their children's school going will be certainly better than the non-Christian Dalit families. That we have seen within the family, those who are Christians and those who are non-Christians. There is certain educational difference, because a Christian will have a Bible as a book to compulsorily read, and then a Christian will have to carry a Bible, and whereas a non-Christian is not supposed to read Bhagavad Gita, therefore he is not supposed to carry Bhagavad Gita. So that discrimination was there from quite old days. Now this right of Christians came, the right to read Bible, only after Martin Luther. Before that, even in Christianity, Catholicism in Europe also did not allow that. But now, people are not registering themselves as Christian, even though they come to church for a religious satisfaction, for a belief in Jesus and God, because there is a problem outside. The outside problem is, even if their children study and get certificates, they don't get jobs. Therefore, they don't want to register as Christians, but want to believe. In fact, the new church movement in the world is now debating whether to call oneself a Christian. Should they invariably be baptized by dipping them in the water and doing all that process? In countries where there is oppression, there is a talk on church, you should allow them to even believe and accept as Christian without even what they call formal baptism and what they call communion, without even going through that process. So therefore, people are right. People see that outside, and many people come to Christianity because they think that their children diseases are cured, their own problems are solved by some prayer or something. So therefore, don't force them to register straight away. That is not good in present condition. Then the second one is the old generation Christians, Dalit Christians also. Just now, somebody said that their father, grandfather themselves were Christians and cobblers. So such people, whether there is reservation right now or not, or within the Christian registration, they should fight for leadership status and open organizational roles and so on. So then about the reading and writing, see, there is a slogan which I gave few years back. Now, whether you are a Dalit Christian or a Dalit or an OBC or a Shudra, your slogan should be read, write and fight. You have to read, you have to write and you have to fight. Ambedkar gave a slogan, educate, agitate and organize, because at that time illiteracy was huge. Now we have literacy, you have to read and write and fight. So that you must teach in the church also. In this book, this is called Shudra's Vision for a New Path. I wrote for how to liberate Shudras from Brahmanism. See, we dedicated this book to the great Phules, Mahatma Jyotirao and Savitribai, who initiated the Shudra revolutionary movement of read, write and fight for the first time in Indian history. So you have to do this. You have to give new slogans in the church and take the image of Mahatma Phule there, Savitribai there. Mahatma Phule was the one who fought for putting Bible as a syllabus book in Indian schools with the British government. So you have to do that. Okay.
Excuse me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Can I?
Yeah.
Yeah, sir, good evening. I am Reverend Victor Paul. I am from Nalgonda district. Presently, I am staying in Bangalore. I am doing my PhD in New Testament. Thank you very much for all your deliberations and thoughts. I appreciate your models, the models you presented for Dalit Christians to go ahead to march forward in future, like studying the DNA report and giving good education to our young generation so that they can become scholars, they can write and they can fight with the literature. Again, making Christians active participation in politics, in the church and society. Again, your thoughts on Luke 18 and 19 and Jesus movement, Jesus to be politicized in India needs to be a lot of deliberations and debate. Again, I have my own thoughts on taking black model into Indian church. All these things need a lot of deliberations and discussions and thoughts. Thank you very much. And now, before going into my asking my point, see, of all these things, first of all, Christians in India need to have a greater unity. They all should come into one platform, irrespective of their denominations. Some denominations want Dalit Christians. Some denominations, they don't want to expose themselves. So all these differentiations should go out and they should come together into one platform and fight with one unity, greater unity. When we are in one unity, everything is possible. So one organization like AICF wants Dalit Christian, they fight with Dalit Christian equal rights, and some other organization from other church, they say we don't want. So all these things is not good to be heard in wider community. So first of all, Dalit Christians or Christians in India should have a greater unity. And this is my own thought. And what I want to ask from you is, thank you for the models which you presented, but I want to know what is the present status of Dalit Christians fight for equal justice at the Supreme Court desk. What are the reasons they are showing that this cannot be passed? If we know clearly about the objections given by Supreme Court, then we can march forward, go ahead accordingly, and make models to fight for achieving equal rights for Dalits. Thank you, sir.
No, I don't know you answer for your last question. That is for your lawyers to tell you what is the Supreme Court status and then what are the issues that they are raising. I don't know what the court, whether the hearing happened or it did not happen, why it did not happen, what is the counter of the government, I don't know. That you should ask your lawyers.
So it was.
That what you are saying is okay.
Yeah, so I would like to address that. Like the brother just have said, unity is the biggest problem among the church. If there was unity among all the denominations in the country, we would not be discussing about this, and we would have already won this cause. So unity must be there in the church. And regarding the Supreme Court, after Justice Rangnath Mishra Commission, the UPA government was not tabling the. They placed it before the Parliament, and the Supreme Court have asked the government's opinion on this matter, what the government of India thinks. Then the UPA government have not sent their response to the Supreme Court. So we went to many members of Parliament. We have collected more than 150 letters from members of Parliament from various political parties requesting the government of India to send a response to the Supreme Court, either yes or no. But they have not done that. Then the NDA came, and that's also not happened. And at this juncture, they have formed a constitution bench. They have given into a constitution bench. They have not announced the names of the judges yet, but the case is with the hearings might be taking place this year. And once the Supreme Court moves forward, I think we will be going forward. But the case is with the constitution bench, but they have not formed the bench yet. So we are waiting for the bench to be formed and for our cases to be heard. Supreme Court matter. Okay, we are waiting from the court. And we have a message from Mr. Walter Hahn from Germany. Read that message. He says, "Hello, Kancha. It seems that my system is not properly working, but I could well listen to your keynote. Inspiring. Would have a question regarding the DNA matter. Why do you think this is necessary? Won't it be a legally more Supreme Court on the mere citizenship of Dalits, and that none can be?"
Yeah. Can you reread why DNA is required and further what he said? What did he say again?
Can you please repeat that? Oh, he says, regarding the DNA, why do you think this is necessary? Won't it be a legally more adequate way to just base our arguments based on the citizenship? All the Dalits should be treated equally. Why some Dalits are discriminated based on their faith? So will that argument more stay?
No, my point, yeah, Walter, if you are listening, my point is, why did the presidential order differentiate between scheduled castes and scheduled tribes while implementing uh, article and constitutional guarantee. They did not differentiate between Dalit Christian tribes and non-Christian tribes, or Muslim tribes or non-Muslim tribes. Tribes, whatever their religion, are eligible for reservations as of now, as per their population census. But the same situation is not given to the Dalits. So there is a sub-clause that they brought in through the presidential order that only Hindu Dalits will be eligible for reservation. Now why DNA? You should, I'm only saying that when the Dalits and tribes are constitutionally put on the same pedestal based on their historical evolution. Historical evolution is both the indigenousness, the indigenous people's rights, and now the DNA is an additional factor to prove that we are one and the same by and large, and therefore you should not discriminate between Adivasis and Dalits, and we too are Adivasis. DNA adds a very strong point. In fact, what Tony Joseph proved by taking up DNA is all earlier written Indian history is wrong. He based himself on DNA study. So he applied the DNA argument to the evolution of history, the evolution of production, the evolution of people's culture, and caste system. So caste system is also DNA differentiated. Brahmins have most steppe migration DNA, whereas the Shudra, Dalit, Adivasis have more African migration DNA. So therefore, it gives a clarity and it produces a lot of powerful scholars in the process if they work on that project to rewrite Dalit history itself. And it could be one of the points before the Supreme Court to argue, apart from other citizenship right is not working when it comes to religion. My hunch is tomorrow BJP government will say that Christians don't have spiritual discrimination as Hindus have. Ever since the colonial Christianity landed in India, the pre-colonial Christianity is also discriminatory, no doubt, because discrimination was there in the Christian world. Peasants were not allowed to read Bible before Martin Luther, we know that. And Bible was read only in Greek and Latin. So like the Hindu scriptures are read in Sanskrit now in the temples. So there are various stages of, but we need to produce a concrete scholarship on that. Along with the DNA question, I'm trying to see DNA as a strong point that will convince at least some judges with a comparison between tribes and Dalits. That's it.
Sir, can I?
Okay.
Sir, good evening.
Yeah.
Professor Dr. Kanche AICF Garu. We are the strong followers of you, sir. As you said, our Christian community, some years back, they started the Indian Christian Secular Party. that microfinance president Dr. Uday Kumar is the candidate. And also some of IAS and IPS, they all supported, and they conducted one meeting in Nizam's ground, like Danam Garu, IPS Alfred Garu. These all worked hard for that. But it's not succeeded. Some of political parties, they are suppressed and oppressed. Is there any reasons and any suggestions you give, sir, regarding this? And
No,
also in your speech.
I know that, and it was just started before the election. And then
Yes, sir.
it ended after the election. Politics don't work like that. Politics have to produce a leader who works lifetime and one after the other, one leader after the other. So people don't believe like that and then vote simply because you put a candidate in one of the constituencies, because their life is related to winning of one party and losing of another party and the whole welfare system. So that then only I told them, just starting a party before the election doesn't work. Still they wanted to try, and that was meant to fail, it failed. I'm talking about a long-term leadership by politicizing church. And election is not the only political agenda. That doesn't work like that. Was Martin Luther King fighting only through winning the election? No. He mobilized the whole black church for a different political agenda of liberation. There was nothing like that then or now. That is what I am suggesting. It won't succeed like that.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much for that.
Can you conclude? Yeah, I'm now. Yeah, why don't you conclude now? It's okay.
Yeah, we'll be finishing. We have Mr. Nilayaji and also Mr. Skylab Babu, just for a minute each, couple of minutes each, and after that we will conclude this. Mr. Nilaya Garu and Mr. Skylab Babu. They have worked very hard. They've been our guides in this matter, and we thank them so much. Are you there? Okay. Then we'll go to vote of thanks quickly. Then we will finish there. Mr. Vijay Raju, please. Mr. Vijay Raju.
So, All India Christian Federation Global Network నిర్వహిస్తున్నటువంటి ఈ జూమ్ మీటింగ్ కోసం వచ్చినటువంటి మీ అందరికీ పేరు పేరున ప్రత్యేకమైనటువంటి ధన్యవాదాలు. మరి ముఖ్యంగా ఈ AICF గ్లోబల్ నెట్వర్క్ జూమ్ మీటింగ్కు ముఖ్య ప్రసంగికులుగా విచ్చేసి అద్భుతమైనటువంటి సందేశాన్ని అందించి మనలందరినీ చైతన్యం చేసినటువంటి పెద్దలు, గౌరవనీయులు, అభినవ అంబేద్కరుడు, మన బహుజన ముద్దుబిడ్డ ప్రొఫెసర్ డాక్టర్ కంచి ఐలయ్య గారికి హృదయపూర్వకమైనటువంటి ధన్యవాదాలు తెలియజేసుకుంటూ ఉన్నాము. దేవుడు వారికి మంచి ఆరోగ్యమును, ఆయుష్ను, బలమును ఇచ్చి ఇంకా బహుజన అభివృద్ధిలో మరింత ముందుకు వారిని తీసుకెళ్లాలని మనసారా ప్రార్థిస్తూ ఉన్నాను. అలాగే జర్మనీ నుండి వచ్చినటువంటి పెద్దలు, గౌరవనీయులు వాల్టర్ గారికి హృదయపూర్వకమైనటువంటి ధన్యవాదాలు. అలాగే అమెరికా దేశం నుండి కూడా ఈరోజు ఈ కార్యక్రమానికి వచ్చిన వారికి ప్రత్యేకమైనటువంటి ధన్యవాదాలు. మరి వివిధ రాష్ట్రాల్లో నుండి మరి తమిళనాడు, పాండిచ్చేరి, కర్ణాటక, ఢిల్లీ ఇంకా తదితర రాష్ట్రాలన్నీ కూడా డిఫరెంట్ స్టేట్స్ నుండి ఈరోజు కార్యక్రమానికి అటెండ్ అయినటువంటి వారందరికీ కూడా పేరు పేరున ధన్యవాదాలు తెలియజేసుకుంటూ ఉన్నాను. మరి ప్రత్యేకంగా ఈ యొక్క జూమ్ మీటింగ్ విషయంలో ఎంతగానో మమ్మల్ని ప్రోత్సహించి దీనికి ఒక కర్తగా ముందుండి మమ్మల్ని నడిపించినటువంటి మా యొక్క అన్నగారు జ్యోతి నీలయ్య గారికి ప్రత్యేకమైనటువంటి ధన్యవాదాలు తెలియజేసుకుంటూ ఉన్నాను. మరి AICF గ్లోబల్ నెట్వర్క్ అనేటువంటి యొక్క కార్యక్రమానికి చైర్మన్గా ఉన్నటువంటి పెద్దలు, గౌరవనీయులు, మా యొక్క ఆత్మీయులు, ప్రియ స్నేహితులు, దళిత రత్న అవార్డు గ్రహీత అయినటువంటి రెవరెండ్ డాక్టర్ డేవిడ్ కడారి గారికి ప్రత్యేకమైనటువంటి హృదయపూర్వకమైనటువంటి అభివందనములు తెలియజేస్తూ ఉన్నాను. అలాగే AICF జాతీయ కార్యనిర్వాహక అధ్యక్షులు బిషప్ డాక్టర్ జేకబ్ సామ్యుల్ గారికి ప్రత్యేకమైనటువంటి వందనాలు. ఆల్ ఇండియా క్రిస్టియన్ ఫెడరేషన్ తమిళనాడు స్టేట్ ప్రెసిడెంట్ రెవరెండ్ డాక్టర్ అమ్మురాజు గారికి ప్రత్యేకమైనటువంటి ధన్యవాదాలు. అలాగే ఆల్ ఇండియా క్రిస్టియన్ ఫెడరేషన్ ఆంధ్రప్రదేశ్ స్టేట్ ప్రెసిడెంట్ డాక్టర్ ఎలిషా కుమార్ కలివేల గారికి, ఆంధ్రప్రదేశ్ స్టేట్ AICF జనరల్ సెక్రటరీ డాక్టర్ నాగేంద్ర కుమార్ గారికి, AICF స్టేట్ లీడర్స్ అందరికీ కూడా ప్రత్యేకమైనటువంటి వందనాలు తెలియజేస్తూ ఉన్నాను. అలాగే తెలంగాణ స్టేట్ లీడర్స్కి మరి ప్రత్యేకమైనటువంటి వందనాలు. మరి CSI చర్చ్ ఆఫ్ సౌత్ ఇండియా నుండి వచ్చినటువంటి సుదర్శన్ గారికి, అలాగే పెద్దలు విక్టర్ పాల్ గారికి, ఇక్కడ వచ్చినటువంటి మీటింగ్కి వచ్చినటువంటి పెద్దలందరికీ, మరి అలాగే నా యొక్క ప్రియ స్నేహితులు, మరి మాకెంతగానో అన్ని విషయాల్లో గైడ్ చేస్తూ మమ్మల్ని ప్రోత్సహిస్తూ మాకు కొండంత అండగా ఉన్నటువంటి కుల వివక్షత వ్యతిరేక పోరాట సంఘం KVPS, మరి ఎంత పెద్ద ఆర్గనైజేషన్ మనందరికీ తెలుసు. దళితుల హక్కుల కొరకు పోరాడుతున్నటువంటి సంస్థ. దానికి తెలంగాణ రాష్ట్ర శాఖ ప్రధాన కార్యదర్శిగా ఉన్నటువంటి పెద్దలు గౌరవనీయులు నా ప్రియ స్నేహితులు స్కైలాబ్ బాబు గారికి ప్రత్యేకమైనటువంటి వందనాలు తెలియజేస్తున్నాను. అలాగే వరంగల్ జిల్లా ప్రతినిధి AICF జిమ్మి సామ్యుల్ గారు, ఇంకా ఇక్కడ ఉన్నటువంటి ప్రతి ఒక్కరికి పేరు పేరున హృదయపూర్వకమైనటువంటి వందనాలు తెలియజేస్తూ మరి ఈ కార్యక్రమాన్ని ఎంతగానో మరి ఆదరించిన మీ అందరికీ ప్రత్యేకమైనటువంటి ధన్యవాదాలు తెలియజేసుకుంటూ ఇక్కడ ఉన్నటువంటి ప్రతి ఒక్కరికి పేరు పేరున నమస్కరిస్తూ మరి సెలవు తీసుకుంటూ ఉన్నాం. థ్యాంక్ యూ.
విజయ్ అన్న, ఒక్క నిమిషము. ఎంతో ఎస్టీమ్డ్ యునైటెడ్ థియాలజికల్ కాలేజ్ UTC బెంగళూరు కొన్ని వేల మందిని దేవుని యొక్క పరిచర్యకు తరబిదు చేసిన కళాశాల యొక్క ప్రిన్సిపల్ చిలుకూరి వసంతరావు అయ్య గారు, హైదరాబాద్ వాస్తవ్యులు. ఆ ప్రిన్సిపల్ UTC ప్రిన్సిపల్ చిలుకూరి రెవరెండ్ డాక్టర్ ప్రొఫెసర్ చిలుకూరి వసంతరావు అయ్య గారు, మరి వాళ్ళ అమ్మగారు కూడా, వాళ్ళ స్టూడెంట్స్ కూడా ఈ మీటింగ్ అటెండ్ అవుతున్నారు.
ఓ, వసంతరావు గారు ఉన్నారు. సారీ అయ్యా, వసంతరావు గారు చాలా ధన్యవాదాలు మీరు వచ్చినందుకు. మరి అయ్యో మీరు సారీ క్షమించాలి, నేను మిమ్మల్ని చూడలేదు, మరి మీరు మాట్లాడలేదు.
అయ్యో
మాకు ఎంతో ఆత్మీయులు మీరు. ఒకరోజు మీరు ట్యాంక్ బండ్ దగ్గర మనము ఒక ర్యాలీ తీసినప్పుడు మీరు ఎంతగానో సహకరించారు. ACTC నుండి స్టూడెంట్స్ అందరూ మీ యొక్క నాయకత్వంలో ట్యాంక్ బండ్ అంబేద్కర్ స్టాచ్యూ వరకు వచ్చి ఎంత సంఘీభావం ఇచ్చారు. మీకు ప్రత్యేకమైనటువంటి ధన్యవాదాలు. ఏదైనా మీరు చెప్పగలిగితే 2 మాటలు చెప్పి క్లోజింగ్ ప్రేయర్ మీ ద్వారా జరిగితే ఇంకా మాకు ఆశీర్వాదకరం. 2 మాటలు చెప్పి.
తప్పకుండా కంచైలయ్య గారు, ప్రొఫెసర్ షెపర్డ్ గారు మాట్లాడడం, నేను ACTCలో ప్రిన్సిపల్గా ఉన్నప్పుడు సార్ని, ప్రొఫెసర్ గారిని పిలిచి అక్కడ కూడా ACTC కమ్యూనిటీకి టాక్ ఇప్పించాం. ఈరోజు చాలా ఒక విషయము ప్రొఫెసర్ గారు చెప్పింది మనం అందరం కూడా కొంచెం ఇనికించుకోవాలి. ఏంటి అని అంటే, యూ హ్యావ్ టు హ్యావ్ ఎ పొలిటికల్ recognition, you have to be politically motivated. I think that is very, very, very important. సంఘం 4 గోడల మధ్యలో ఉండి మనకేదో అవుతుంది అనుకోవడం కొంచెం అది కాని పని. ప్రార్థన చేస్తే ఆడ జరిగిపోతుంది అనుకోవడం కూడా అది కాని పని. మనం కంకణం కట్టుకొని ఒక మోడస్ ఆపరెండిని మార్చాలని ప్రొఫెసర్ గారు చెప్పారు. సో దట్ పొలిటికల్ మోటివేషన్, పొలిటికల్ ఐడెంటిటీ, పొలిటికల్ ప్లాట్ఫామ్ అండ్ పొలిటికల్ పర్సువేషన్ ఐ థింక్ ఈస్ ది వే దట్ ప్రొఫెసర్ గారు చెప్తున్నారు. మనం దాన్ని ఎనికించుకొని ఐ థింక్ ఆల్ ఆఫ్ ఎ సడన్ థింగ్స్ డోంట్ హ్యాపెన్, బట్ అట్ ద సేమ్ టైం ఆ కోవలో మనం అడుగులు మొదలుపెట్టి దాన్ని బలపరుచుకొనడం ఒక నిరీక్షణకరమైనటువంటి విషయం అని నేను సార్ చెప్పింది మళ్ళొకసారి బలపరుస్తూ మనకు అది ముందుండాలని నేను ప్రార్థిస్తూ దీవిస్తూ. చాలా వందనాలండి. థ్యాంక్ యూ వెరీ మచ్. ప్రొఫెసర్ గారు మీకు కూడా చాలా వందనాలండి. థ్యాంక్ యూ.
థ్యాంక్ యూ.
మనము ఒకటి గుర్తుపెట్టుకోవాల్సింది ఏంటంటే, ఐగుప్తులో ఇజ్రాయేలీలు ఉన్నప్పుడు వారు తమ సమస్యలను బట్టి, తమ కష్టాలను బట్టి, తమ బానిసత్వాన్ని బట్టి ప్రార్థించారు. ప్రార్థన అనేటువంటిది మనకున్నటువంటి బలం. అయితే ప్రార్థించినప్పుడు ప్రభువు వారికి చెప్పాడు, మీరు ప్రయాణమై ముందుకు సాగండి అని. వారు ప్రయాణమై ముందుకు సాగకుండా అక్కడే ఉంటే అభివృద్ధి లేదు, ఆశీర్వాదం లేదు. సో కనుక మనం కూడా చేయాల్సింది ఏంటంటే ప్రార్థన, మన ప్రయాణం కొనసాగించాలి. మన ప్రయాణం ఎక్కడి వరకు కొనసాగించాలంటే, ఇజ్రాయేలీలు దేవుడిచ్చినటువంటి ఆశీర్వాదకరమైనటువంటి ఆ నేలను చేరు వరకు వారు ప్రయాణమై సాగారు. మరి మన ప్రయాణం కూడా ఎక్కడి వరకు సాగాలంటే, భారతదేశంలో బహుజన రాజ్యాన్ని నిర్మించే వరకు ప్రయాణమై సాగాలి. ఎందుకంటే భారతదేశంలో ఏ జాతి అయితే రూలింగ్ చేస్తుందో వారికే ఈ దేశంలో గౌరవం దొరుకుతుంది. కనుక మన జాతి అభివృద్ధిలోకి రావాలన్నా, మనం ముందడుగు వేయాలన్నా తప్పనిసరిగా మనం చేయాల్సినటువంటి ప్రయాణాన్ని మనం కొనసాగించాలి. ప్రార్థిస్తూ ప్రయాణం చేద్దాం. ఆ ప్రయాణం మన గమ్యాన్ని చేరుకునే వరకు చేస్తే ఏమవుతుందంటే, ఈ ప్రార్థనా బలం మన ప్రయాణంలో తోడుగా వస్తుంది. దేవుడు మనకు తోడుగా వస్తాడు. ఎర్ర సముద్రములు ఎదురైనప్పటికీ ఆరిన నేలను నడిచినట్టుగా మన జీవితాల్లో కూడా ఎన్ని కష్ట నష్టాలు ఎదురైనా బహుజన రాజ్య నిర్మాణం కొరకు ముందుకు సాగినప్పుడే మనము సక్సెస్ అవినట్టు లెక్క. గనుక తప్పకుండా ప్రొఫెసర్ గారు చెప్పినటువంటి ఆ యొక్క గొప్ప మాటలను మనం అందరం ఆదర్శంగా తీసుకుందాం. ఎందుకంటే ఈ తరంలో, ఇప్పుడున్నటువంటి తరంలో దేవుడు ఒక బహుమానాన్ని మన జాతికి ఇచ్చాడు అంటే అది ప్రొఫెసర్ డాక్టర్ కంచె ఐలయ్య గారు. మరి వారి మాటలు మనకెంతో స్ఫూర్తిదాయకమైనటువంటిది. ఈ తరంలో మనకందరి కొరకు ఒక మాటలో చెప్పాలంటే వారిని బహుజన ప్రవక్త అని కూడా అనొచ్చు. అలాంటి వ్యక్తి గనుక మరి వారి వచ్చే సందేశాన్ని ఇచ్చినందుకు ప్రత్యేకమైనటువంటి ధన్యవాదాలు తెలియజేసుకుంటూ, మరి ఈ సమయంలో పెద్దలు మరి ఏసీటీసీ ప్రిన్సిపల్ గా ఉన్నటువంటి పనిచేసినటువంటి వసంతరావయ్య గారు ప్రార్థన ఆశీర్వాదంతో మనం ముగించుకుందాం. థ్యాంక్ యూ.
ప్రార్థన చేసుకుందాం. ప్రేమగల తండ్రి, కృపగల నాయన, పరిశుద్ధుడా, నీ పాదములకు స్తుతులు స్తోత్రములు మేము చెల్లించుకుంటూ ఉన్నాము. బానిసత్వంలో ఉన్నటువంటి నాయన ఈ హెబ్రీయులు నీకు ప్రార్థించగా వారి మొర నా యొద్ద చేరిందని మీరు పరలోకము నుండి దిగి వచ్చి ఇదిగో నీ చక్కటి మోషే నాయకుడిని నీవు ఎట్లా ఎన్నుకున్నావో ఈ దినమున ఈ నాయకుల్ని ప్రొఫెసర్ కంచె ఐలయ్య షెపర్డ్ గారిని మా ముందుకు నడుపుచున్న విధానానికి నీకు వందనాలు. కలిసికట్టుగా నా తండ్రి ఇదిగో మా మొర మీరు విని ఉన్నారు. ఇదిగో కలిసికట్టుగా మేము కంకణం కట్టుకొని ఈ భారతదేశంలో ఉన్నటువంటి స్థితిగతుల్ని గమనించి ఇదిగో నూతన నేర్పును కంచె ఐలయ్య ప్రొఫెసర్ గారు మాకు ఇచ్చిన ఈ నేర్పును బట్టి ఈ సాయంకాలమున నీకు స్తుతులు స్తోత్రములు చెల్లించుకుంటూ, AICF కొరకు మేము వందనాలు చెల్లించుకుంటూ, నాయకత్వము కొరకు వందనాలు చెల్లించుకుంటూ, మా ప్రభువా ఈ జ్ఞానోదయం కొరకు నీకు వందనాలు చెల్లించుకుంటూ, నీ యొక్క పునరుద్ధాన శక్తితో, నీ యొక్క ఆత్మాభిషేకంతో ముందుకు నడిచి ఈ స్వతంత్రాన్ని మేము పొందు కృప నిమ్మని యేసు నామమున వేడుకొనుచున్నాము తండ్రి. ఆమేన్. మన ప్రభు అయిన యేసుక్రీస్తు కృప, తండ్రి అయిన దేవుని ప్రేమ, పరిశుద్ధాత్మక అన్యోన్య సహవాసము, సకల దీవెనలు ఇదిగో ఇక్కడ చేరిన మనందరికీ ఇప్పుడు ఎల్లప్పుడు మనం ఈ పరిపూర్ణమైనటువంటి స్వతంత్రమును పొందుకును మట్టుకు తోడు నీడై ఉండును గాక. ఆమేన్. వందనాలండి ప్రొఫెసర్ గారు. థ్యాంక్ యూ వెరీ మచ్.
థ్యాంక్ యూ.